We'll call the meeting to order. Please stand and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, may I have a motion to approve the minutes of the meetings held March 25th and April 3rd, please?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion carries. And we have four folks who are wishing to address the board on a non-agenda item, and that we would allow a total of 15 minutes for that. So you can each take 3.5 minutes or so if you would prefer to do that, or you can defer your time to one of the other people that have signed up. So the first name that I will call would be Julia Stabell. And Julia, if you would like to address us, that'd be great. If you'll step to the microphone up here in the center, give us your name and your address, and you've got about 3.5 minutes.
Okay, my name is Julia Stanek.
Stanek, sorry.
It's completely fine. Hi, Julia. Hi.
Your address, honey.
Okay, I live at 330 East 38th Street in Sioux Falls.
Great.
Okay, I would like to regard the fine arts that they've decided. I did fine arts in the 5th grade and 4th grade for orchestra and band. I remember that was the time that I went and I had fun. That's one of the reasons why I always came to school every single day, because I knew I got to play my band instrument, which at the time was clarinet, and my orchestra instrument, which is cello, which I still do today as a freshman in high school. This was the time that I went and it relaxed me, and it made me do better in my school classes. From what I understand for the initial proposal is that the core issue that you guys started this was that there's a scheduling issue amongst the classrooms. One thing that I find very hard was that when you had to go in and out. So one thing that I've discussed with many of my peers and teachers is instead of pulling different students out for each thing in different classrooms, such as 3 or 4 people from each classroom, instead make one classroom designated for fine arts, where the entire class will then get up and leave and go down as if it would be going to the library or going to any other extras, therefore disrupting the amount of actual class time one teacher must have to do, and then moving on, giving the teacher planning time to catch up on homework or plan the next schedule. This is one thing that I think would help the overall scheduling issue amongst the elementary schools. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I appreciate the support, but if we could keep the applause to a minimum, I would appreciate that as well. Jessica Drew.
Hi, good evening. My name is Jessica Drew. I live at 5100 South Lewis Avenue here in Sioux Falls.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening. Thank you for hearing my concerns regarding the district's proposal to cut 25% for PE, art, and music for what I understand to increase test scores and reduce class chaos when students leave to attend specials. The best way to increase test scores is to teach to the test. However, a teach-to-the-test approach fails to meet the vision and the mission of the school district. My son is a student here. He's very active and needs to move to learn. His PE is a very important part of his week, and the need to move is supported by numerous studies. Likewise, many studies show that arts effects improve memory, ability to read, do math, understand, and communicate. The list goes on and on. So I question whether the proposal will meet the goal it's trying to achieve. A survey on Friday was sent to 156 of your 4th and 5th grade teachers, all of them. Over half of the teachers responded so far. To validate the district's concern, 53% of grade 4 and 5 teachers believe that students leaving the class to attend specials creates a chaotic environment. However, 58% of your 4th and 5th grade teachers believe that the cuts will negatively affect the kids in their class. Additionally, also 85% of your 4th and 5th grade teachers believe that the benefits the students receive from specials is worth the effort and impact, if any, it has on their classroom. Based on this survey, I'm concerned that more bad than good can come of this. Has the district evaluated the negative impact of leaving a full class during enrichment time causes an increased teacher-to-student ratio? Has the district evaluated the risk of regulatory scrutiny from the Department of Education if PE and music teachers are expected to teach other subjects from missing instructional time without the required endorsements? Or is the school going to pay for the additional college credits necessary to obtain the endorsements? If you can and have not already done so, please review the It All Matters Sioux Falls Facebook page and communications contained therein to more fully understand the impact this decision has. Thank you very much.
All right, next person would be Heather DeWitt, please. And again, if you'd give us your address, Heather.
Hi, my address is 2200 South Bonson Avenue.
Thank you.
So I originally had a lot of things I wanted to say, but then I realized that the other ladies and students had things to say that were better than I had to say, and I think you've all heard from me enough anyway. And so I wanted to share with you a letter that we received from Jill Eggleton, and she is an international educational consultant who is particularly skilled in literacy and often does training even sometimes here in Sioux Falls. She's from New Zealand, and so she writes to all of us. The teachers at Sioux Falls have been a special part of my life, having for many years conducted teacher training in literacy here in Sioux Falls. I have seen their absolute passion and love for the precious children in their care and the total commitment in doing what they know works best for all children. I learn with absolute dismay, however, that there is a possibility your school district is contemplating an enormous reduction in vital subjects such as PE, art, and music. Please forgive me if you think this letter is intrusive or presumptuous, but I care deeply about decisions made that are detrimental to children's learning, and for what it is worth, would like to share my thoughts. There is absolutely no research that would support a reduction in such essential components of an elementary school curriculum. In fact, there is overwhelming amount of research that points to how essential these arts are in developing the whole child. Music can help boost children's brain power by stimulating parts of the brain associated with academic development, such as reading and math and emotional development. She goes on to quote some statistics. Arts inspires children to learn and excel. A report by Americans for the Arts states that students who participate regularly in the arts are 4 times more likely to be recognized for academic achievement. And interestingly, low-income students engaged in the arts are more than twice as likely to graduate compared to their peers with no arts education. I understand that we're not proposing no, and that it's a reduction, but I think that the studies are valuable. Involvement in sports and PE is directly related to improved literature scores. And then she goes on to say, many struggling readers have talents in the arts, and when they gain success here, then that success directly influences other subjects and other areas. Providing more time than already allocated for reading skills, in my opinion, will not improve test scores. I believe it will be detrimental, in fact, and result in unmotivated and reluctant learners. There is an emerging body of research that indicates attempts to accelerate intellectual development before the child is ready are, in fact, counterproductive. Readiness is a key feature in learning to read. Learning to walk is pre-wired into the brain, but learning to read isn't. For some children, it is a long, slow journey. Therefore, it is essential to make it as joyful as possible with quality time, plenty of time, but not excessive, and certainly not at the expense of the arts. While as challenging as it is for me to accept, I guess standardized testing has to be part of your school life for American students. In my opinion, however, based on many years of experience, isolated test scores do not give a reliable or realistic picture of the learner's growth. So I would be extremely careful in making decisions based on test scores that could be damaging and discouraging for children. I'll share this with all of you and with the administration of the school as well. And then, as she mentioned, we've had this Facebook page, and teachers have been...
Sorry, thank you. Okay.
It's all you. Sorry.
Okay. Helen Jenkins.
Thank you. With permission, I would like to cede just a small portion of my time to my son, who would like to make some brief comments.
He did not sign up, so if it's all right, our policy and our rules state that you sign up before the meeting. You have the 3.5 minutes that's been allotted, and I'd appreciate it if you would take your time and give us your name and your address, and we'll allow you the time that you signed up for.
Okay, I will just note that when I first arrived, I was told that I could not speak. The 3 people had already signed in. So the remainder of those minutes before I entered the room were spent enabling myself to speak. He's obviously a minor, but I accept that he will not be permitted to speak this evening. My name is Helen Jenkins. I am the parent of two students here in Sioux Falls. One who is a 7th grader at Patrick Henry, where I am also the president of the PTA. My daughter Claire is a 5th grader at Eugene Field A+ Elementary School. Both have been extensively involved in music, arts, not a shock. As attendees at Eugene Field, that has been a critical part of their academic development, their social development, and that prompts my comments here today and my passion and desire to speak to this issue. I think that I'm going to rework what I was planning to talk about, in part because I'm last, and I don't think that there's any sense in rehashing what you have already heard. I also recognize that most of you probably are aware of and agree that arts education is essential. It is essential not only to the kids interested in pursuing a career in arts and music, but also to everyone. I just want to draw to your attention, since part of the mission that you have adopted, if we have it, indulgence for one more moment, thank you. Sorry. Is to prepare students for an ever-changing world. That's part of the mission that we've adopted in the district. I think that is an important one. The leaders of the new world view arts education as critical, and not just for people who are interested in the arts. It is considered to be an absolute foundation for building the qualities that are necessary to exist in a creative and competitive world. I am the general counsel of a company that specializes in entertainment and technology. I primarily work with business people and engineers. This is no less important to those who are interested in pursuing those careers as it is for somebody who wants to pursue a career in music, and I think we would find that everyone agrees. Paul Allen, who is the co-founder of Microsoft, had said, "In my own philanthropy and business endeavors, I have seen the critical role that the arts play in stimulating creativity and in developing vital communities. The arts have a crucial impact on our economy and are an important catalyst for learning, discovery, and achievement in our country." The CEO of GlaxoSmithKline, "We need people who think with the creative side of their brains, people who have played in a band, who have painted. It enhances symbiotic thinking capabilities, not always thinking in the same paradigm, learning how to kickstart a new idea or how to get a job done better, less expensively." That is not research, although I think that there are plenty of pointed, is that it?
Yes, thank you.
All right, thank you.
All right. We will move on the agenda. Could I have a motion to approve the agenda for tonight, please?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries, and we're on to the good news report.
Good evening. We have a pop quiz for you here this evening. The subject is geography. The question is multiple choice. Which country is located west of Thailand? Is it Lesotho, Myanmar, Namibia, or Canada?
Yes.
The second one.
Cynthia, you are correct. It is Myanmar. The Guadalcanal, which was a site of deadly fighting during World War II, is part of which country? the Solomon Islands, Spratly Island, Howland Island, or Marshall Island?
Yes.
Marshall.
Solomon Islands is the correct answer. Those questions are just a sample of the questions that one would study if they were participating in the National Geography Bee. This evening, we're proud to introduce seventh grader Sean Hodges. He is from Edison Middle School. He took top honors in the 2019 South Dakota Geography Bee held at Northern State in Aberdeen a few weeks ago. And it's funny, the back of his t-shirt actually has a similar question on that one would study if they were winning the state portion of the spelling or the geography bee. As state champion, Sean received $1,000. He also gets a trip to Washington, D.C. to compete in the National Geographic Bee Championship. He's one of 2.5 million students from 10,000 schools across the country who first competed online, and then 100 of the top competitors were selected to participate in their state competition as well. So Sean's going to tell us a little bit about how he became interested in geography. And then as an extension of that, Sean's mom is here. She's a third grade teacher for us, Deborah Hodges, over at Discovery Elementary. And her students took special interest in geography after, just as a result of Sean participating in it. So we're going to have kind of a little two-part here. So Sean, the floor is yours.
I don't know how I got interested in geography. I don't have anything to say. I actually don't have anything to say.
Do you know what? Thank you. Congratulations.
Can I ask, what was the winning question? What was the winning question?
It was what country was southwest of the Democratic Republic of
Angola. All right. Thank you.
And I was just asked to add a little bit. My students knew where I was going when we went to the state competition in Aberdeen. And so as soon as I came back to school the next day, I immediately had the question, how did he do? And so my students started really being interested in geography as a result of hearing about Sean. And so I now have a section set up in my classroom just for geography for theirs when they have extra time, and it's immediately where they have been going to and wanting to learn more. And so it's nice to see how just knowing one person that does something like this can spark that interest in learning. Thank you.
When's the national competition?
It is...
The national competition is from May 19th to the 22nd.
Well, good luck.
Yes, good luck. Cool. Congratulations.
All right, thank you very much. No conflicts of interest to take action on tonight. We will move to a motion for approval of the consent agenda, please.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Supplemental consent agenda, 9A, motion to approve claims to Sanford Health, please.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion carries with 2 abstentions, Board Member Mickelson and Board Member Ryder. And motion to approve 9B, claims to Avera.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion carries with 1 abstention, Board Member Parker. And we are on to the reports of the superintendent.
All right. Thank you, President Alberty. We have 4 reports, actually 3 reports and a hearing tonight. The first report tonight is a Family and Consumer Sciences curriculum report that comes to us from the Curriculum Services Department and will be presented by Ms. Ann Smith.
Good evening. Middle School Family and Consumer Sciences, shortened to FACS, teachers from the 5 middle schools began meeting in the fall of 2017. The group has continued to meet monthly to create curriculum essentials and pacing guides that merge the content standards, the focus on career connections, and the importance of exposing 6th, 7th, and 8th grade students to all areas of the FACS offerings that are available to them beyond middle school. Through the studies of current curriculum and as they discussed the desired changes, the decision was made to create a 2-year cycle of FACS curriculum that will be taught to all 6th and 7th graders on an every other year cycle called Middle School FACS Year 1 and Middle School FACS Year 2. The curriculum will consist of a 50-50 blend of hands-on kitchen skills, cooking and baking, and classroom instruction. And by classroom instruction, we're talking about financial literacy, sewing basics, entrepreneurship, and soft skills that will advance student success in the workforce. The 8th grade curriculum will remain as a consistent annual elective offering for students. In looking at the published materials that were reviewed, none of them were found to effectively match the curriculum guide and learning outcomes, so teachers decided that they would create their own instructional resources using the free resources available to educators through the Department of Labor and other private industry companies. This freed up some money then to apply to our equipment. Much of the kitchen equipment in our middle schools is over 30 years old, which makes it a little difficult to teach the standards effectively. At the high school level, FACS teachers from the 3 high schools in CTE began meeting in the fall of 2017. They met several times through 2017 and 18 to write the pacing guides for their 10 different courses that are offered at the high school level. Special education and middle school teachers got together with the high school teachers to align the curriculum and to have common conversation. During the study, it was determined to change the course name of Career and Life Management to Single Survival. This class prepares students to live on their own by covering topics including careers, insurance, housing options, and finances. Introduction to Culinary Arts was changed to Advanced Foods so that the term culinary will only be used in CTE courses. We purchased new infant simulators, which are used in the child development class since our babies were 14 years old, and the software was getting a little hard to update. A small percentage of students whose needs are determined by IEP teams and that to require a smaller, more supported setting with a modified for curriculum for them to be able to effectively participate in family and consumer science and career and technical education courses gather for classes called Fundamentals of Food Prep, which is offered at all 3 high schools as an elective for students with significant disabilities, and Fundamentals of FACS is offered at the 2 middle school buildings with RISE programs. Fundamentals of CTE is offered at all 3 years at the middle school buildings with the RISE programs. All students with disabilities receive instruction that is aligned with the standards so that they're having a similar experience as their general education peers. Following a review of the current CTE standards, the committee determined what materials and equipment would best enable students with disabilities to access the curriculum in their least restrictive setting. And you see those materials in the report. With that, I would ask that the board would approve the recommended family and consumer science curriculum adoption.
Questions for Ann on the report?
With the high school courses, do any of them, are they prerequisite for CTE, or do they just go directly, do they have to?
And with this is for the high school courses.
Yes.
And we're dealing with family and consumer science, and there are no prerequisites for those.
Okay, thank you.
All right, may I have a motion for adoption of the recommended family and consumer science curriculum, please?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
I'll just say 2 things. We had one of the babies at our house not that long ago, and it is real. That cry is a real cry, even in the middle of the night. So it was fun to experience that, and I think it's a really, really good experience for students to have that opportunity. And I also think the other thing is so many kids don't get the chance to maybe cook at home or sew or things like that, and so the earlier we can introduce them to those things and that independence, I think it helps them to build confidence as well. So I appreciate the the improvement of the utensils and the equipment that they get to use, so it's more real like what they have at home in those situations too. So great classes, and the kids really enjoy those pieces of their middle school and high school years as well.
Okay. Any other discussion?
I'd say they enjoy them, maybe except for the zucchini brownies, but that could be just my son's experience, but sorry.
All right. We have motion and a second. No further discussion. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion carries.
Okay, our second report, it will be the Personal Finance Business and Marketing Curriculum Study Report, also delivered from Curriculum Services and Ms. Ann Smith.
As our curriculum studies continue to focus on career and college readiness, the personal finance, business, and marketing teachers met beginning in the fall of 2017 to review instructional programming. Courses that were reviewed include courses from the Accounting and Financial Services classes that are a part of the Academy of Finance program at the CTE Academy. Through the Academy of Finance program, students are able to earn up to 25 college credits and have a paid summer internship. Marketing education classes, the curriculum was reviewed for those classes. These courses offer students an opportunity to earn credit while working in the school stores and or other businesses in the Sioux Falls community. Some students, such as our ELL newcomers, enroll in high school having limited or no experience with computers, file management, or basic computer applications. So we have a basic technology skills course, which is a unique class offering students an opportunity to gain practical skills using computer technology. Personal finance is a class that is required for graduation requirements. Students either have to take personal finance or economics. Personal finance is designed to engage students in real-world situations so that they can make sound financial decisions. Through this curriculum study, we developed a sheltered personal finance curriculum for English language learners. It uses the general education written curriculum as the framework. You see the list of materials and the costs. And with that, I would ask the board to approve the recommended personal finance, business, and marketing curriculum adoption.
Just one quick question, and I know there's probably a reason why, but I have to ask, personal finance books, why are they so much more expensive? Do we have more students taking them, or is it the cost of materials are just that much higher than the rest? Sorry.
I'm going to turn to Kristen. I would punt, but she's here. So
good. That's what I figured. Yeah. Okay, thank you very much.
Okay. Any other questions on the report? If not, may I have a motion to adopt the business and marketing curriculum, please?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Discussion? All right. Hearing none. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion carries. And on to Joe Foss.
All right, our third report is a report from Joe Foss and the President's Academy, also coming to us from Curriculum Services, but this time delivered by Dr. Teresa Boyson.
Good evening. Tonight I bring you a report regarding Joe Foss and President's Academy and a programming change. Joe Foss and President's Academy, we have partnered with Ombudsman since 2011, a secondary provider, to provide those opportunities for the students in the Sioux Falls School District. Part of our strategic initiative is always to review our current programming and to make sure that we're doing the very best we can for students and also being financially responsible with our taxpayer dollars. So in reviewing that information, looking at the new graduation requirements, all the different internship opportunities and partnerships across the community, we believe the Sioux Falls School District can offer the same product for our students, if not better, at Joe Foss and President's Academy for a lesser cost. And so timeline was crucial with the Ombudsman contract, and so we had to notify them by the end of March of our intent for the upcoming year. So we have notified them, and we're working to develop a great program for those students at Joe Foss and President's Academy. So those students will leave here at the end of the school year, but they'll walk back in those doors in the fall, and they'll pick right back up with where they're at. Currently, we contract 326 seats with ombudsman for students that are housed there from all the high schools as they see they need that for their programming. So with that recommendation, I just acknowledge the Joe Foss report, and I stand by for any questions.
What's the timeline that we'll have probably the curriculum and so forth developed for?
We'll be ready to roll by the end of the school year. So that way, when we'll have hiring to do, because ombudsman, they are not our staff, so we'll have new hires. So we'll get those new hires in place and ready to go, and that could be some of the ombudsman staff if they choose to apply for that. So, and then we'll have everything, online curriculum, that's their big platform. And so we have online curriculum, and then just doing some small group lessons with those students, especially in the areas of math and science.
So when they return in the fall, they probably won't notice a difference of staffing numbers or anything like that.
Correct. Should be seamless for the students, and that's our goal, is the students walk out the door, they come back in, and that maybe there'll be some new and better things, but they shouldn't have any impact to them.
Okay. Any other questions for Dr. Boyson on the report? May I have a motion to acknowledge the report, please?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
Just looking forward to see how it turns out and how much better we can do.
That's right.
I've heard from a lot of students that have taken advantage of that program, and it's helped them graduate. And so just glad that we're going to continue with something, because it is an important piece for some students.
All right. Thank you. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign, and that motion carries. Thank you.
All right, now we're on to the public hearing of the fiscal year 20 proposed budget and tentative adoption. Here to present on that topic is Business Manager Todd Veek.
Thank you, Dr. Maher. As you know, the school board began its budget process in November 2018, at which time the board adopted guidelines and a timeline for the budget process. Between December and February, 19 subcommittees comprised of administration, professional and classified staff, and community individuals developed program budgets, which were then presented to the Budget Review Committee. The Budget Review Committee included 2 board members and representation from the subcommittees. The Budget Review Committee met in March to review the recommendations. A board work session was held just last Wednesday where we went over those in some detail. So the FY20 general fund budget is proposed to be $175.4 million in revenues and $176.2 million in expenditures. The expenditures are a $3.5 million increase over last year. The budget presented to the board is being heavily influenced by a 3rd straight year of minimal state increases, since the half-cent increase in the sales tax to increase teacher salaries happened in FY17. In FY18, the state aid increase was 0.3%. Last year, the increase was 1.7%, which included 0.7% of one-time money. And for next year, it's 1.8%, and that's the 2.5% ongoing increase minus the 0.7 in the one-time money. In 2017, the school board made a commitment to increase teacher and other staff salaries at a level consistent with the rest of society, while not decimating the rest of the budget. So our 5-year plan spends into the fund balance by $764,000 in FY20. This figure is lower than projected last year, but that is being driven by a $3 million transfer to the general fund from the capital outlay fund. This transfer is not projected to be utilized beyond next year, as the money will be needed for future capital projects. It will maintain, though, the general fund balance at an acceptable level until it can recover in FY21 and FY22. The lowest projected fund balance over the 5-year period is 5%, with a projected 7% fund balance in FY24. Last year, the budget plan projected a low of 5.5%, so we're a bit lower than that as we project out. Some highlights from the general fund and revenue is 600,000 new state aid formula funds, and that's both state aid and property taxes, due to increased enrollment and increased ELL enrollment. 3.4 million in additional state aid formula funds due to a 2.5% increase in the ongoing per student allocation. 1 million in increased state aid due to the reallocation of other funds. For example, the bank franchise tax is our big one. That's actually gets us back to even. We were down about $1 million last year, so that gets us back to even. And then we had it's a special ed change, but we missed in your earlier packet last Wednesday, 14,778 we had missing out of other local revenues. So the spending into the cash is now just slightly under 800,000 instead of slightly over. And that's in the general or special ed fund. On the expenditure side, some of the bigger issues, we had a $2.7 million increase in salaries, including a 2.75 increase for teachers and all other staff. 260,000 in K-12 teacher salaries for additional students. 1.2 million increase in the health insurance. That's a 4.6% increase in health and other benefit increases. $670,000 transfer of expenses from the SPED fund, I'll get into that in a minute, to the general fund, and about $230,000 in miscellaneous increases. Some general fund reductions to try to stay within the confines of the plan, and this is off of what was proposed, of course, initially by the subcommittees. That $250,000 reduction for the we just heard that Joe Foss report, $185,000 in a teacher FTE allocation adjustment we do on the high school. There's some teachers outside the formula, and we got about 3 out of there. $109,000 for middle school tech ed EAs, and $840,000 for K through 12. We were double counting students in RISE classrooms where they rarely, if ever, get into the general ed classrooms. We were assigning general fund teachers for those as well as special ed teachers. We're just getting rid of that double count. So the special ed teachers will still be there at their regular ratio, just the general fund teachers will not. In addition to those cuts in the general fund, the SPED budget from their original proposals cut $1 million from early intervening services. Those are services to kids who are not yet on IEPs. They're not yet eligible for special education. It's mostly in reading is where those across K through 12. There was a little bit of behavior in there as well. All the behavior has stayed. It's being transferred over to the general fund. The CEIS cut in elementary is being replaced by an increase in federal Title I funds for the SIPS program. And so it's a slightly different program, but it is being replaced by SIPS, which I think we've had some early success with that program. In middle school, we took the Read 180, which was essentially 2 classroom periods long, and just reduced it down to 1 classroom period, 1 50-minute classroom instead of 90 minutes. And so that the cut is just the 40 minutes off that. And in high school, while the extra teaching FTE above the normal formula is taken out, we still have the ILIT literacy program for those students to use, but it'll have to be funded out of their regular allocation of classroom teachers. School levy is projected to increase by 13 cents in 2020. That is right in line with what was explained to voters in the discussion of the $190 million bond election last September. We actually held it off for 1 year, though. It was supposed to happen this year, but we were able to hold it off for 1 year. The average school property tax increase over the last 20 years for a typical house in Sioux Falls School District is approximately 1.5% per year. Recommendation to the board is have the public hearing and then acknowledge it and tentatively approve the FY20 school district budget to allow human resources to offer employee contracts, with the understanding that the budget will be brought forward for adoption and certification of levies at the annual meeting held July 8th, 2019.
Okay. We'll start the public hearing portion first before we have comment and a tentative motion from the board. So anyone who is here to address the board on the budget, the microphone is open, and you will have 3 minutes to address us on your specific budget issue if you wish to. Going once, going twice. Yeah, if you're, it's got to be specific to the budget.
Just maybe explain the fact that this is a public hearing. It's not the same as signing up at the beginning of the board meeting.
Perfect. Okay. So the only portion of the budget that I wanted to talk to, because it's the only part I've paid attention to thus far, is the idea of teacher contracts. And I would just ask that you please consider when you're looking at the teacher contracts specifically for the fine arts teachers, art, music, and also PE, but the orchestra and band teachers, I'd ask that you look at those contracts with an eye toward what the public has spoken clearly toward, that we very much want to protect the arts in our schools as they are.
Sir. If you'd give us your name and your address, please, I'd appreciate that.
Aaron Spencer, 103 South Summit. In reference to the items that were discussed at the beginning, I will say that I'm new to Sioux Falls, and a big factor in moving here and contributing to the top-line property tax issue was the presence of the arts and music program in this district that were far better than many other places that we had considered. So it's a contributor to your bottom line as well, not just a cost.
Budget specific, please.
Hi, Tony Martinet, 46220 West Shore Place. I'm just curious to know, and this is something that I think until some of the shuffles that will result with teacher allocation happen at the high school level, with the IELTS class, while yes, it will still be offered, I'm worried if it will have an impact on class sizes, since those FTEs are coming out of what was an FTE for a teacher, to keep those IELTS courses to the prescribed manageable size. Is there the possibility that some of the other gen ed courses within those departments, the English department specifically, may increase a little bit? So,
good. Thank you. Anyone else? We'll close the public input portion, and I would ask for a motion to approve a tentative.
Can we ask questions?
Motion.
Okay. Okay.
Yes.
I didn't know if that was just comment.
Nope.
Sorry.
So if I could get a motion to tentatively approve the budget.
So moved.
And is there a second? So that we can have discussion among ourselves.
Second.
Thank you. And we'll have discussion. One thing that I want to make very clear to, of course, our board, but to the folks that are here, this is a tentative approval. The final approval of the budget does not happen until July at our first meeting in July. So what we're approving tonight is tentative. There will be time, obviously, to look at what we have given tentative approval to, and then that final approval won't happen until July. So open it up for discussion. Cynthia.
Great. I'm sorry, I have a few questions. So, Todd, when we're talking about what we're looking at, the cuts that we had here on the expenditure reductions, what administrative items were looked at for reductions?
So I don't know if you brought your,
Yep.
you did. And it's out on the internet. So on page 26 is where we kind of go through the detail of every individual budget, or how it ended up anyway. And those are called district coordinated programs, kind of the IPC and central services is where those are housed out of. So on item 140, staff development, now they cut 4.8 instructional coaches. Those had been budgeted because they thought they were going to get cut the year before, and the federal money didn't get cut. So that was a decrease, but it wasn't, it wasn't actual positions because they were maintained with federal money. We just thought the title money was going to be lower last year than it was. They also cut teacher hourly and purchase services. That is a real of $22,532. And 058, the library, they cut purchase services. They're going to utilize the state library's Learn 360 video streaming, so they made a cut there. On 056, admin and legal, they're down $167,881. The teacher pathway and Eagle Vision, once again, we put the money in the budget because we wanted to fund those and get those programs up and running. The federal money didn't get cut as much as we had projected last year, so was able to maintain that. So once again, those are positions that were there and aren't being cut, but there are dollars coming out of the budget. They did cut $11,000 in hourly and supplies in that pathway program as well. In ComEd, it was a $4,865 reduction. It was their level 3. It was temporary pay, contractual dollars, and dues and services was spread across 3 items, but that was relatively small, but they have a small budget. In ops services, that is a big budget, and with energy and heat and lights and all that good stuff, that budget grew $65,722. However, it was actually what we consider a level 2, which is a 5% off of just maintaining program because the cost of energy goes up every year. So he cut $40,260 off what would have been his maintenance budget. In training travel, that energy ed program, we can do that online. She doesn't have to go to the annual, and then some general supplies. Finance budget cut, the reduction was $4,806 off our level 4. It was $15,000 in mail. We cut our mail in half. We're going to be more efficient. We had dropped down. It's been creeping up, and we're going to get back down to so we're basically cut that in half. And then this might come as a shocker to you guys, but the school board was cut by 5 meetings per member, and so that's a $2,797 savings. So those are kind of the IPC/central service items that were reduced, kind of in that miscellaneous number.
Thank you for addressing the SIPs, because the reading and the recovery issues, I know have been concerned, and people weren't for sure knowing those were replaced, so I appreciate you addressing that in your statement today. I've had a tech ed teacher from middle school reach out to me regarding the cuts in the middle school tech ed EAs. They're concerned more about the safety about the kids and the type of workstations they have in the middle school. When they are working with the more dangerous equipment, how are we going to? Is there going to be a part-time EA for those type of things so that they can make sure they're maintaining the classrooms and so forth?
We'll let Ann answer that one. Thanks.
With the changes to the middle school CPE curriculum, it's now a modular curriculum, so that not all students are doing the same thing at the same time. So the teacher can organize so that they are focusing their attention on the students that are using power tools and doing more dangerous things. The other students would be modules that don't involve that kind of equipment.
So the module students won't be supervised, or what?
The teacher is still in there, but it's not, the EAs that were in the CTE program were when we had a more traditional tech ed program where you were having all the students are working on woodworking at the same time. All of the students, they're not doing it that way anymore. So the teachers in the room, they can direct their attention to the students who might be working on a module that has more safety concerns. The other students are working independently on their computer modules at the same time.
So how many students would be working, when the others are in this module, how many will be working with the equipment at that point?
So a module, it would not be any more than 2 to 3 students would be working with the power equipment at any given time.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that information.
Any other questions or discussion? Okay. We have a motion and a second for tentative approval of the budget. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Thank you. And we are on to policy.
Yes. So we have a schedule that we go through and look at different policies and regulations that we have as a district. And so this meeting, we have just a couple that are actually just for review revision. There were very minor changes that were made. And so today we're looking at KD, DB, media coverage, athletic and other school activities. And all we did was really update the language to the current practice, so no major changes. And the second one we have is KGB, KGBR, school business partnerships. And for this one, we just updated language to better explain the two different types of business partnerships that are acknowledged by the district. So with that, and the attachment, or the red line they're attached if you want to see those changes, I would make a motion to approve the review revision of those two policies and the accompanying regulation.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. And that motion carries. May I get a motion to move into executive session, please?
Move that we go into executive session 1-25-24.
We will recess shortly into executive session. Thank you all.